Welcome everyone to another edition of Drunk Agile. In our fine tradition of There Goes the Neighborhood, we have a special guest with us tonight, which we'll get to here in just a second. But of course, we have to talk about the star of the show, who is omnipresent. Nisha, so good to see you. You're the only person I'm interested.
She moved her head a little bit.
Yeah. With us tonight, I was going to say we're lucky, but we're really not. And by the way, the check didn't clear, James.
We never will.
With us tonight is the one, the only, the Jimmy Doon the Pub, James Scrimshire.
Thanks.
Thanks for
that. That's how I introduce myself when I go and do ultimate cage fighting.
And then, of course, the Yogi Bear of Agile, Prateek Singh. Which the less said about him, the better. Let's talk whiskey. James, what you brought?
I am. I'm not quite as bad as Prateek in terms of not having any in. Shame on you, sir. Right? If you weren't so far away, I would challenge you to a duel in the morning, as we do here in the UK. I've got it's a Carlisle. It's only a 10-year-old, but it's a rebottled version, and it's this cask strength collection. It's not as peaty as you would think. I know you guys don't like.
I was going to say, this is a peat-free zone. Yeah,
because you've got fancy palates. That's what the problem is with you guys, right? You've got these kind of genteel palates, whereas I've gone for the full-on. This stuff will. I'm gonna have a drink of this now, and then I'm going to finish paint stripping.
Fair enough. What is the percentage on that? Does it say?
That is 59.5.
Okay, we're good then. We're okay.
Yeah, we're still in the safe zone.
Yeah.
Well, that's a little foreshadowing.
Prateek, what'd you bring?
I am doing a bottle kill on the Glendronach Costrand batch, the batch 8, since we've killed the batch 7 already. 61% sherry cask. Yeah, cask strength.
And I'm going back to I'm working my way through the Glengarry. This is the hand-filled one that I did, trying to put a hurt on that. I've got you beat. I think I got both of you beat. 61.6% on this sucker. So definitely not doing a bottle kill on this. Tonight, anyway. I won't be doing that. So, cheers, everyone. James, thanks for joining us.
Flange. Now, I have got one of your fancy little glasses, but I've got these really nice heavy ones that I really like, so I'm just going to use that.
That you can use to beat Prateek over the head. So, as we like to do for all our guests, James, can you introduce our topic? What are we going to be talking about tonight?
So tonight, Dan, we will mostly be talking about what I would consider to be the slightly disingenuous sales patter of big consultancies when they're going into particularly large financial organizations. It happens a lot here in the UK, and I'm sure it does to you guys in the States, where they sell them what I've lovingly coined the SpotiSafe model, which is a blend of some sort of quarterly planning increment version of the Spotify model that is widely just a disaster when it lands.
Right. And of course, we can't call it safe, and we can't call it Spotify model, and we can't call it Scrum. We got to call it, whatever their marketing term is.
I don't think they have a name for it. They're just going to sell them Agile, right?
Yeah.
And then you go, well, that means you've got to do squads and tribes, and that means you've got to have quarterly planning. And you kind of go, and if now they've decided to throw in the extra added bonus, free of charge, so it's like their washing powder, new and improved, OKRs.
But wait, there's more. Now with 30% more OKRs.
With 30% more OKRs, right? It really is. And you kind of go, right, you don't have a name for it, but I know I've worked in at least 2 or 3 organizations where I've seen the same thing sold by different big level consultancies, and then had to try and correct all of the mistakes that then brings and all of the pain that client then suffers for that vast amount of money. By the way, which once I would like to do one deck that they sell to these organizations just once and get paid the equivalent amount, never work again, right? That would be good. And I'm really struck by, and I had an interview with somebody today. I did an interview for somebody that I'm looking to hire, and her experience where she is was a company I used to work at, and they've done it a second time. They've not just been fooled by this once. They've gone back and had a second bite of the cherry from a different consultancy and been given the same thing. And you kind of go, what? Right? And I know I'm not alone in this. I know other agile coaches in the UK I've spoken to, like John Coleman and a couple of other people, have had similar experiences. And it would be nice if there were, C-suite execs up and down the land watching your podcast going, holy crap, we didn't know how bad this was. And I'm not suggesting that they don't watch.
Thanks for the little of confidence there. Yeah, they're watching. So Prateek, you go. Yeah, sorry, you go.
Yeah. I was gonna say the interesting thing about this is, for me, is when you go and say, hey, I'm going to bring in one of the, as a C-level person, I'm going to bring in one of the big four consultancies, and they're going to help us get better. You have the minimum risk in that case, because you're saying, at least you think you have the minimum risk. You're like, hey, everyone else is doing this, so I have justification to do this.
Right.
And
there's a phrase, isn't there? Nobody gets sacked for using
IBM
XYZ, right? Which is insert your favorite flavor of consultancy here, Nate. Right?
Yeah. Exactly. And meanwhile, you don't. It's a bunch of stuff that we've talked about multiple times, where the thing that is the most intuitive to do is probably the wrong thing to do. And I think when you're in that position, this just feels intuitively right to go for one of the big four.
Yeah,
it's weird, though, isn't it? 'Cause if that feels right, does it feel right, or does it just feel safe? No pun intended, right? Does it just feel like the easy option? Is it lazy thinking? Is it the lazy thing to do, rather than kind of, look at something that would help you figure your own way to agility without a big agile follow the rule book kind of version of agile? But then they go and buy somebody else's rule book thinking they know what they're doing, but they've never actually implemented it, and they don't do it themselves.
No, yeah, to me, it's completely offloading risk. That's all they're doing, is they're just offloading risk. And what they don't realize is they're probably going to get fired anyway, because the transformation is going to fail. So that whole thing, nobody got fired for hiring IBM or, like you said, XYZ, doesn't really hold true. I have to say, back in the day, I actually made a pretty good business of following around these big consultancy implementations, and when they fail, I would come in right after them. The biggest reason that I stopped doing that was because I got sick and tired of having the conversations of, hey Dan, we want you to come in, we want you to fix this thing, but we only want to pay you X. Even though we just paid, this other big consultancy $42 million, right? I actually knew that they paid $42 million for this other, we only want to pay you £2.50 an hour to come in and fix our implementation for us. That's honestly why I stopped doing that. But there is plenty of business out there, just follow these people around and kind of clean up.
The only time I was ever offered 42 million, it was in pesos.
Yeah, lira before the euro.
Zimbabwean dollars.
Greek drachma is what it was. You may as well get magic beans at this point.
So yeah, that was. But I mean, with straight faces, CFOs would try to negotiate these rates with me when, like I said, I would know for a fact the millions of dollars that was wasted on the previous contract.
It's interesting, isn't it? I think any job in agile culture, again, I'm speaking from a UK perspective maybe, but any job in agile culture is a consultant, delivery consultants, whatever you want to call yourself these days, that are in these organizations are generally having to battle against that kind of, it's almost like a forces of darkness moment, right? and it bewilders me that you've got this glut of talented people, and okay, that talent varies, who are going, don't do it, And like you say, the safe bet is to go, yeah, but I'll just give them 40 million and let them give us a PowerPoint deck that tells us what we ought to do. And if we do that by rote, it'll all be magically great.
And the thing about this is it will take you at least 6 months to figure out that it's not working. You'll at least have to go through 2 quarterly planning iterations to find out it's not working. And by that time, someone's taken the 42 million and run away. It's baffling for me that you're going to wait that long to find out something's not working. And I think that's at least, because usually it'll take a much longer than that.
I wonder if that's like, because that first month, when they get to the end of that first planning period and they go into the next planning period and they kind of go, we didn't quite make it, but that's because it's new.
Yeah.
And we haven't quite got it right yet. And then they get through the second one and then it's 6 months. And then they start to go, what's that really bad smell?
We can't just blame it on Prateek anymore. Right? That's something else.
That wasn't
That's
dog.
definitely something else.
Yeah.
Speaking of Prateek, I don't know how much you can say, your last experience with this. I mean, obviously without naming any names, but at a high level, what?
Without naming names, we were a shop that was pretty much we were doing flow, we were doing Kanban, we had developed a pretty good practice, and we had a big consultancy that we partnered with after that, mostly for to get more folks in temporarily to build up some capabilities, and then but they also brought with them their theory on how to approach these things. So to me, it felt like we were sliding backwards. We did slide backwards a little bit, but my most interesting bit of that was after a year or so of doing this, 6 months after doing this, I was like, no, we're going to do it our way. And after a year or so of doing this, I think our team size went from, 17 people down to 8 or 9 people or something like that, on 12 people. And we actually got more done because we got rid of the practices that had been brought in and completely went back to the way we were doing things. And at least in that one instance, it seemed like it was more productive to go back to the things that we had figured out and developed ourselves rather than the imposed framework.
Well, that's the thing. Just do the maths on that. The extra 7 or 8 people or whatever that you were talking about that were consultants, that were contractors, right? I assume that were right. Just do the maths on that, and how much money was how much money was saved to get more done. I mean, that's.
It's an interesting one, because in that situation, you're quite lucky that you've gone back to a set of good practices that you had previously that someone's tried to disrupt for whatever crazy reason. Often with the old, large, lumbering, slow, poor technology, poor engineering practices, financial organizations that are prevalent in the UK, they've gone from a poor practice to this Hail Mary transformation thing that they've been sold by people who've never done it, by people who don't understand it, don't know what the effects of it are, but I've got loads of really cool slides and buzzwords. And their natural tendency is not to then go, stop doing that, let's do something different, but not what we used to do before. Their natural tendency is to go for a safety behavior, which is retreat back to what they did before, which wasn't any better anyway. Right?
This conversation is kind of apropos, because I don't know if you've seen on Twitter in the past day or two, there's somebody out there, and I haven't looked into this, I don't know anything about it, but somebody somewhere has released what's called auto scrum. Have you guys seen?
Yeah, I saw that.
All the pictures about.
I thought the safe I saw the other diagram was more.
Yeah, was an eye chart. Yeah,
this just went the next level.
E, F, J. Yeah,
it just went next level. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know if that was a joke. I don't know if it's a joke or if it's like serious or what. I just all of a sudden, it seems to me in my Twitter timeline anyway, this is exploded with this auto scrum thing. So if anybody's out there listening knows anything about this auto scrum and wants to leave a comment, let us know. But that's this, like I said, I think it was one of the big consultancies that just kind of published this thing. To your point, James, of repackaging something as,
gosh,
yeah.
Good God. I thankfully I've not seen that on Twitter because I have ditched Twitter, and not because Mr. Musk has gone and bought it, but just because I'd had enough of. It's just not a nice place to be, right? You know, I've just had enough of it. And I get the occasional kind of pang to go back and sort of troll through some agile stuff, but I know it's just going to infuriate me, so I just don't do it. I'll get angry and smash my phone again.
But this is the fun part of this, which is we're talking about Agile, which usually says, hey, let's inspect things and adapt to better ways of working. Right. And instead we're going, hey, let's take this huge, big thing and just lay it on top of things to see if that works.
So the person I was talking to today in the interview was really interesting because she doesn't come from an agile background, she doesn't come from a software background, she's a systems thinker. But the company she's at has decided to kind of give all the systems thinker lots of agile training, which makes sense in many ways, right? But what she naturally realized, and this is somebody with, I'd say, a year in, right? And for a lot of people, it takes much longer than this because they go through the kind of the default, let's do Scrum equals Agile bit, and then it takes them a little while. She's gone straight to, I don't see the point of Scrum. Oh, I said that out loud, sorry. And she's, and I'm not doing it, one's better than the other thing, but she's gone straight to Kanban straight away. And gone, this makes much more sense from a systems thinking point of view, because it doesn't matter what your methodology is, you're just measuring whatever your process is, and you're just adapt and inspect continuously, and navigate your way to agility. And you can scale that through your kind of lean portfolio, your flight levels, these stuff. And the kind of that little triumvirate of systems thinking, Kanban, flight level kind of stuff just seems to be the sweet spot. And for somebody of her experience to go blah, 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 was kind of a bit of a nice moment for me today. It's like, yeah, that's exactly where we want to be. That's exactly where I'd like the organization I'm working with at the moment. That's where I'd like to take them.
I mean, Prateek and I were on a meetup yesterday. You know, we always get this question, you know, hey, how do you handle prioritization? Right? We always get that question. And my answer always is, you know, the way that I handle prioritization is to not, right? And for me, it's the same thing with agile transformation. You know, it's like, how do you scale your agile transformation? You know, don't. Right? That's, to me, the answer to scaling is don't scale. You know, now I know a lot of people watching this show will have a lot of objections to that, but you know, if we truly believe in empiricism, and maybe that's another show we should do, is, you know, empiricism. I don't know, have we done empiricism? I'm not sure if we have or not. No. We have to go look back. But if you truly look at empiricism, I mean, how many times has a scaled agile transformation actually really worked? Especially when you bring in one of these big consultancies. You know. Yeah,
I was going back to our previous episode about ex post and ex ante, and kind of, can we look at the results rather than the pretty PowerPoint that tells us, hey, this looks great? Can we actually look at the track record and figure out, does this actually work?
I wonder if the you know, when people are on board in these big consultancies and they're getting them in to go, right, help us with that transformation, and they turn around and go, here you go, here's a lovely PowerPoint full of SpotiSafe. Did they ask that question? Did they ever go, how many of these have been successful? And if they do, what's the answer? Is it just, you know, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to swear on your show, but is it bullshit? Did they just bullshit people?
We're drinking, so you can swear. Yeah, anything goes. We check the box on YouTube that says, "Is this made for kids?" Absolutely not.
No.
Right? No.
Well, and as a Scotsman, I can't not swear because it's not really swearing.
I'm impressed you went 20 some minutes before you did. I'm actually very, very impressed about that. I was questioning your Sky,
and I'm just going to unleash a string of expletives that are meaningless.
So let's make up for this.
Kind of get the build up out. Yeah. Right. Yeah, I think that would be a really, I don't know, how many data points did you have for successful scaled agile transformations? Not naming frameworks here, but pick your scaling framework of choice. And I think it's low ball.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, we could probably say the same thing of any Scrum implementation, any Safe implementation, probably even any Kanban implementation too. So
yeah.
I think there's something to be said there.
It reminds me of a story about this is going to be completely out of left field. Once again,
Isn't that the point of this show?
Yeah, Henry Ford tried to take all the principles that he applied, which were super successful in the U.S., and build an entire city in the middle of Brazil called Fordlandia, because he wanted to source rubber, because tires. And that's
a fantasy book that you're writing. Is this the plot for a fantasy fiction book?
It's literally true.
Fordlandia.
Yeah.
Did he not come up with a better name?
Hey,
he did not have a marketing team. What the hell?
The guy was making cars. That's what he wanted to do. So, but he took the framework that was working for him in place A and just applied it to place B, and there were riots. Like, the workers rioted, and they just it fell apart pretty quickly. He had to abandon the project, because even if you have one success, yeah, no, that's what the real problem was.
Somebody should have gone like him. It's a bit derivative,
Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't necessarily mean because it worked somewhere else it's going to work for you. And
no.
That's
I guess that's why I am going to be biased about it, and I do have a preference, and I do have a view on the way that I would do things. So otherwise, I wouldn't be human. And that's the kind of way I like the Kanban way of doing it, because you don't necessarily have to do. You can do something different. You can go in and completely retool your process right from the off. But if you don't, it doesn't really matter which way you go with that, as long as you are measuring it and using that to inspect it and adapt it.
Well, I mean, so Elon Musk hasn't bought this show yet, so you're obviously welcome to say whatever you want to say, on this show.
He confuses me. That's all I'm going to say about him.
Yeah. But hey, Elon, I don't know if we want to talk to you or not. Actually, to be honest, I'm not sure if we do or we don't. But so as
Elon lenders a tenner.
Yeah, exactly. You got $5 that you can. As our guest, James, you get both the first word and the last word. I mean, how would you sum up what we've talked about here?
A never-ending cycle of shoveling, horse manure.
You can say shit. It's okay.
Can I say shite instead? Is that okay? Never-ending cycle of shoveling shite.
Shite's more polite.
Other people's shite as well, not my shite. Other people's shite.
Yeah.
There you go. That's it. That's how I'd sum it up. But it's a fun thing to do, and it keeps me paid, and it puts a roof over my head, so I'm good with it, right?
Gives us a chance to whinge and drink, right? Every so often. Yeah.
If you can't laugh at it,
yeah,
then what's the point?
Yeah. So I don't know, James, will we see you in Lean Agile London? I don't know, is that something?
I am making an appearance at Lean Agile London, a rare appearance. I've actually got over my COVID phobia of ever coming out ever again. Nothing to do with the actual virus. It's just that, God, people, right? I can't deal with individuals, right? But yeah, I will be there. I'll be there on the Monday, but not the Tuesday.
Okay. Well, so for those of you who don't know, Lean Agile London coming up May 20 something or other. I should know the exact date.
Whatever the Monday, Tuesday is, that
23rd and 24th, I think you'll find.
Thank you. Yeah, 23rd and 24th. Come find us. I think
anyone who knows me knows how terrible I am at calendars, and that will be amazing.
Shameless
plug. Going to freak out.
I think Prateek, you and I are doing a live version of Drunk Agile at Lean Agile.
Yeah, we're doing Drunk Agile live. We don't know what we're going to talk about, but I'm sure there'll be whiskey.
Do we ever? Yeah, do we ever? Big thanks to James for coming on and taking time out of your busy schedule to talk to us. Because I know we had to really twist your arm to sit around and drink, and
I had to beg to come on the show. Yeah. Don't belittle me and demean me now. Don't make it degrading.
I was like, I don't know. Maybe we can fit you in April. I don't know. I
don't know if we feel safe.
Yeah.
We really have to. He's begging. We better put him on. We just won't publish that one.
Just make him feel good. So for our special guest, James Scrimshire, thank you so much for being on. For the star of the show, Nisha, who is begging to get out of that room.
Yeah, she's done with
Please.
this.
Please, God, let me out. For the Yoga Bear of Agile, Prateek Singh, my name is Daniel Vacanti. We want to say thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in the next episode. Slanjava, everybody.
Yeah.